Hey guys, YouTuber100 here. Alright, and now, continuing on with Land Before Time reviews. Now here I am with a review for The Land Before Time 4, Journey Through the Mist. So yeah, this is like a really good sequel. I mean, yeah, I think that this is probably, just like Time of the Great Giving, I think this is one of the better Land Before Time sequels. I mean, I've heard some people say this is actually their favorite Land Before Time sequel, and I can see why. I mean, this is like a pretty enjoyable movie. I mean, it does have a pretty good plot for this, and it does have like a good element of, well, it does have some good elements to it, and yeah, I think that this definitely is like one of the stronger Land Before Time sequels. Really did like watching this one growing up, like I've said. I've liked watching all the first four sequels, so I don't really think I need to say that very much. But yeah, I really do enjoy this one. And like, this does have some, like, good, it does have like a good premise to this. Pretty much, this is kind of like, in a way, a similar premise of what the first film was. Yeah, in this film is set around like Littlefoot's grandpa is like dying. In order to cure it, they need to travel to like another place to find the cure. And yeah, I think that it's done pretty well. It's kind of like when they were traveling to find the Great Valley in the first film, but yeah, it's not quite the same thing. But yeah, I think like here, the stuff with Littlefoot's grandpa dying, I think that this is how it really should have been with Littlefoot's mother dying in the first film. Like this actually is going on throughout like all the entire film with Littlefoot wanting to save his grandpa and that he could be dying. You know, as opposed to like in the first one where Littlefoot's mother's death, it just happened so sudden, like I just didn't understand it. But yeah, here it's done like a lot better. Like you actually see like it seems like Littlefoot's grandpa is getting weaker as this movie goes on, and yeah, it actually does get like a little more heartfelt, and yeah, you kind of like can see like it yeah, I could actually see why people could get like think that this is sad, and I could understand why people would feel like emotional about this one because, yeah, we it's actually like prolonging throughout this entire movie, and it's not just sudden like it was in the first film. And yeah, yeah, in this film, of course, like we also have like Alli make in this film, who's a long neck like Littlefoot, and I did really enjoy like seeing Littlefoot interact with another or kid of his own kind. I did like to see that in this film, and yeah, basically in this film, like with the way like Allie's life has gone, she's pretty much like used to what Littlefoot's mother was talking about in the first film, with like every herd sticking to their own kind and stuff. And that's really the lifestyle that Allie was really used to as this film starts. But yeah, over time, like she does like see like how good it is to have friends of different herds herds and different types of dinosaurs as friends. So yeah, I do like that. It kind of she goes through like a change in here, and yeah, she does kind of like adapt to the new life like Littlefoot and the others did. Yeah, and of course, like this film also does have some really good songs. I mean, it has like the lullaby Littlefoot's grandma sings. And then it has "Who Needs You" sung by Dylan Icky the Villains, and of course, like it takes all sorts, which I really do love that song. Like it is just like a really good song, and I placed that at number 2 in my top 12 Limb 4 Time songs. Yeah, I really do love that song. So yeah, the songs in this movie are all pretty good. Yeah, and like I said before, like the villains in this movie are like Dylan Icky. Yeah, Icky is Ick this Theronus Ichthyosaurus. Yeah, I don't know how to say it. Yeah, and Dilla's like some prehistoric crocodile, and yeah, it's. I do like how like the two of them do kind of work off each other. Like they need the other one in order to find food. Like because yeah, Icky of course like he's not very big. He's only like another flyer like Petrie. So yeah, it's really hard for him to get food, but at the same time, like Dill doesn't have very good vision. So yeah, they like need each other in order to find and eat food. So yeah, it's a good way for them to like work off each other. Yeah, overall, yeah, I really do like this movie. Like I said, I do find it to be one of the better Land Before Time sequels. It's just really good. Yeah, and yeah, you do have like a couple other like characters in this. Like you do also have like Archie, who's like an Archelon who they find in the cave that they travel through, and also it has like that mouse or rat Tickles, who's I'm not really sure why they added him in to this film, but yeah, he's like just an additional character who's kind of just added in as a filler character in this film. You know, and of course, like also like one of the surprises this film has is like around the end of the movie, it actually has Spike talking, which is like very rare. Spike only like talks like 2 or 3 different times in these films, so yeah, really did like to hear Spike talk in this film. So yeah, it does have like some good surprises in this film, and yeah, a good plot and some good songs. Yeah, so yeah, definitely like a pretty good film, and yeah, one of the better Land Before Time sequels, I'd say. I would give this film probably once again 3 stars out of 4. Yeah, I just really do think that this is a real pretty good film. All right, so yeah, let me just get right into it. All right, so the film opens up with that same narration, the introductory narration with the narrator talking about the dinosaurs, but he also like says that during this period, like the climate was really having effect on the dinosaur lands, and yeah, it was really like changing a lot of areas, but yeah, life in the Great Valley still stayed the same. And Littlefoot, Sarah, Ducky, Peachy, and Spike eventually like they discover that there's another herd of longnecks that are entering the Great Valley. And when Littlefoot went to go tell his grandma and grandpa about it, they told Littlefoot that they're actually their cousins. And then they were going to go welcome their cousins. And as they were like starting to go, like Littlefoot's grandpa then just started to suddenly get dizzy for a moment. Yeah, but then he recovered and they went to go greet their cousins. And then like the leader of their the cousin herd, which was like an older longneck that they were like referred to as the old one, were telling them that the, the Great Valley may undergo some changes to the land, similar to how their land did. And the old one was explaining that due to like an ongoing rain storm, and how it was just like raining for weeks upon weeks. And it's like their land had just really become different, and there was just like a bunch of new creatures moving into their land, and so then they had to leave, and their land was now known as the Land of Mist. And later on, as Littlefoot and his friends went to play, Littlefoot eventually ended up meeting Alli, and yeah, Littlefoot and Alli started playing. But then, yeah, as Littlefoot started to introduce Alli to Sarah, Ducky, Peachy, and Spike, Alli was afraid because, like I just said, she was used to just being around her own kind. I mean, and then yeah, she really only like wanted to play with Littlefoot. Yeah, and yeah, eventually Sarah just ended up calling Alli stuck up. Yeah. And yeah, it was mainly like Sarah who really didn't like Alli. Yeah. And then later on, as Littlefoot and Alli went home, it then showed that Littlefoot's grandpa was just like really weak and just on the ground. And yeah, Littlefoot's grandma explained to him that his grandpa was really ill and they really weren't sure if he would get better. And then the old one then was telling them that she knows of the illness that Littlefoot's grandpa has, and it's never actually revealed what the illness really is. But yeah, she explained that nobody recovers from the illness unless they eat the golden petals of the night flower. Or in time, yeah. And once Littlefoot and his grandma asked the old one where the night flower was, she told them that it was in the land of mist that they came from. But she told them that it was too dangerous to go there. And then, yeah, Littlefoot's grandpa then just was telling Littlefoot that if their land does change, like the old one was implying earlier that he wouldn't be around to protect Littlefoot and his grandma isn't as strong as she used to be, and so then Littlefoot's grandpa just made him promise that if anything happened to him, that Littlefoot and his grandma would go with their cousins. And then, yeah, Littlefoot really was just couldn't handle the how sick his grandpa was, and yeah, his grandma was just telling him that it was all part of the circle of life, and then, yeah, she was then like sending Littlefoot to sleep. And how could Littlefoot even really sleep after just finding out what is wrong with his grandpa? So yeah, that I really don't understand that. Well, anyway, yeah. But yeah, she was just explaining, like I said, it was all part of the circle of life, and there really wasn't anything they could do. And then she was singing that lullaby. I do, yeah. But then Littlefoot then just decided that he had to go find the night flower, and yeah, he was just determined to do it. And then he asked Alli to tell him where the Land of Mist was, and Alli then just agreed to take Littlefoot to the Land of Mist, but Littlefoot was gonna also take Sarah, Ducky, Peachy, and Spike with him, but Alli just told Littlefoot they couldn't come, or else they could be slowed down. So then, yeah, Alli and Littlefoot went off to the Land of Mist, and then the next morning, like, Sarah, Ducky, Peachy, and Spike couldn't find Littlefoot, and Sarah thought that Littlefoot might have just been off playing with Alli, but Littlefoot's grandma also couldn't find Littlefoot, and then she knew that Littlefoot went off to find the night flower. And then, yeah, Littlefoot and Alli then were going past a cave that they had to go through in order to get to the Land of Mist. But then it eventually like caused an earthquake. And then a cave-in ended up being, yeah, it then like ended up causing a cave-in in between Littlefoot and Alli. And then yeah, Alli like knew she couldn't clear it by herself, and then she went to go get help. And then yeah, Littlefoot's grandma was then just telling Sarah, Ducky, Peachy, and Spike what was happened with Littlefoot's grandpa, and how Littlefoot is now going off to find the night flower. And yeah, she like had Sarah, Ducky, Peachy, and Spike promise that they wouldn't go off looking for Littlefoot, but yeah, they all like had their fingers crossed or their legs crossed when they promised, yeah. And then eventually Alli then arrived, and then she just told Sarah, Ducky, Peachy, and Spike what happened with Littlefoot, and then she just asked them to come help her, and they all went except for Sarah. Sarah like just felt that Alli was making it up at first. And then as Littlefoot was trying to find a way out of the cave, he eventually then did come across Archie, the Archelon, and then yeah, he asked Archie for help to try to get the rocks down, and as they were trying to clear it up, it then like showed Dill and Icky, and yeah, they were looking for food, and they like did see Littlefoot at first, but they didn't find anything else, and they just couldn't find Littlefoot again, and then and they were just both implying they were hungry, and they were just like saying what they really did do and how they really couldn't get the food without the other. And then yeah, they were just then saying the "Who Needs You" song. And then yeah, Dill and Icky eventually then did find Littlefoot and Archie, and then they then like chased after them. And meanwhile, Alli, Ducky, Peachy, and Spike then were trying to clear out the rocks. And then Sarah eventually did arrive and then helped them. And then eventually, as Dill and Icky continued to chase Littlefoot, Sarah then eventually then and busted a hole in the rock wall, and then yeah, it knocked Dill and Icky unconscious, and Littlefoot was able to reunite with his friends. And yeah. And then, yeah, Littlefoot then explained to Archie that he is trying to find the night flower and going to the Land of Mist to do it. And then, yeah, then Archie led Littlefoot and the others to a shortcut to the Land of Mist. And then they then arrived there, and yeah, and Alli was just telling them to stay close because they would end up staying lost if they got in the mist. And Sarah ended up like getting hidden in the miss, but they eventually ended up finding her after they, like, met, like, their new mouse friend Tickles, yeah. And then Sarah ended up, like, falling into a river, and then, yeah, Littlefoot and the others then, like, were just trying to pull Sarah out, but Dill and Icky then, like, ended up, like, following them to that shortcut, and then, yeah, they were trying to go after Sarah, and then, yeah, Littlefoot and the others were just trying to hold off Dill and Icky, and then Alli eventually went to save Sarah, and at one point, as Alli, like, fell off of a steep cliff, Dill was like, well, no, not Dill, Icky tried to go after Alli, but Alli ducked, and Icky, like, his head went right through a tree. Yeah, and yeah, Alli eventually ended up saving Sarah, and then, yeah, then Alli and Sarah then became friends. And then, yeah, then Alli was just explaining that, why she really had that behavior that she did about how, like, being afraid of anyone that wasn't a long neck. And then she then, like, was saying that she now sees how great it is to have different kinds of friends. And then, yeah, we then had the It Takes All Sorts song, which was really great, yeah. And eventually, like, as they continued to search for the night flower, they then decided to just rest for a while. And as they all went to sleep that night, it then, like, then showed the night flowers then blossom because they were actually in the field of the night flowers. And yeah, it then, like, showed them blooming, and then, yeah, then they all then saw the night flowers around them, and then, yeah, then, like, Littlefoot then was just, like, saying towards his grandpa that they found them, and then they gathered up night flowers and head for home. And then Dill and Icky were then, like, in pursuit of them once again, and at one point Icky actually grabbed Petrie, and he was just, like, gonna eat Petrie by himself, but then, like, Tickles then like, saved Petrie by, as Icky was about to bite into Petrie, he Tickles, like, placed Dill's tail in Icky's mouth instead, and Icky ended up biting Dill's tail and allowed Petrie to escape, yeah. Then eventually, like, Icky then grabbed Alli, and Petrie tried to save Ducky, and yeah, they were just, Icky and Petrie were just having a tug of war for Ducky, and then they both, like, lost their grips, and Ducky ended up, like, falling right into water unconscious, and Dill ended up retrieving Ducky, and then she was gonna eat Ducky, but then as Littlefoot and the others were trying to wake up Ducky, then Spike then shouted Ducky, and then, yeah, that ended up waking up Ducky, and Ducky was able to hold on to a tree to prevent herself from falling into Dill's mouth. And then eventually, as Icky was taunting the other kids, then Spike ended up whacking Icky with his tail, and then Icky ended up falling in Dill's mouth, and Dill thought it was Ducky that was in her mouth, yeah. And then, yeah, Icky and Dill were just arguing once again over Dill eating Icky, and yeah, they were just then saying they didn't eat each other, and then, yeah, they just then dismissed each other, and then Dill ended up flinging Icky off, but then, yeah, after she did that, then Dill ended up being pursued by a Hydrotherosaurus that was chasing after her, yeah. And then, yeah, they then headed home, and yeah, they said goodbye to Tickles, yeah. Tickles, and yeah, Alli was then just saying that maybe they would all live together someday, and yeah, I don't think, yeah, Tickles has even been seen in any more Land Before Time movies, or even, I don't know, like, if he was in an episode of the TV show, but I doubt that, yeah. And then the next morning they arrived back at the Great Valley, and then, yeah, Littlefoot then fed his grandpa the night flowers, and then, like, yeah, his grandpa then, like, ended up recovering, but he recovered kind of quickly, like, it was, like, just after 10 seconds of after he swallowed the night flowers, he then was coming around again. I mean, shouldn't it take a little longer for it to work? I mean, shouldn't it take, like, a few hours for the flowers to kick in? So, yeah, kind of weird there, but, yeah, whatever, yeah. And, yeah, then, yeah, of course, Littlefoot's grandpa was okay, yeah. And then Alli and her herd then ended up leaving the Great Valley, and Alli said goodbye to Littlefoot and the others, yeah. And, yeah, Ducky was trying to get Spike to say goodbye, but then, as Spike was, like, opening his mouth, he then just, like, ended up, like, eating instead. Yeah. Yeah, and then they just all said goodbye to Alli, and then Alli and her herd then left. And yeah, it just showed like after Alli left, like Littlefoot was then just thinking about uh, her memories with Alli. It was basically like a recap of the film, just like how it was in the first film when Littlefoot and the others were reunited with their families. Yeah, it was basically like another recap, like at the end of the first movie. Yeah, and then it just ended with like the narrator then just saying that one day Littlefoot and his friends would meet Alli again one day. But yeah, Alli is still yet to appear in any more movies, but I've heard that she was in like one episode of the TV show, so yeah, she's made like one appearance again since this movie, but yeah, she's still yet to appear in any movies. Will she appear in any more movies if they ever do make any more? Yeah, well, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, and then yeah, movie just ended like that, and then yeah, it then showed Littlefoot's grandpa then just getting up and walking again. So yeah, like I said, 3 stars out of 4. It is a pretty good movie, and yeah, but like I've said, it is one of the stronger Land Before Time sequels. So yeah, I would probably recommend this one too. Alright, so yeah, alright, so that does it for my review of The Land Before Time 4, Journey Through the Mist. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, so yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.